now 2 million visitors. It's older than we thought.
Yeah, I think so, Jack.
2 million visitors have been here now and been through the place. And I like to think of what is the impact that has had on the general public. You know, that's the population of a major Canadian province not that long ago, having walked through and gotten a story about Aboriginal people, Aboriginal culture, about a time and an event that they probably knew nothing about when they walked in the door. And what that has done, you know, in terms of changing attitudes towards Native people, educating people about the importance and value of ancient cultures and artifacts and things from the past, we couldn't have bought that kind of publicity, really, you know.
You can't, and you know, I've often said that I think one of the huge gains from the whole thing is, just as you say, the number of people who've had an opportunity to experience Native culture firsthand, but in many cases, even more importantly, for many individuals that come here, this is the first time they've ever talked to a Native person. They've never had an occasion in their own personal lives to deal with Native people in any fashion. And then they come here, and they not only are they dealing with Native people, but they're dealing with Native people who have a profound understanding and respect for their own culture and a pride that comes clear. You just get any one of the guides talking for 5 minutes, and that pride just shows. They know what this represents. They know what this thing reflects in terms of their own personal heritage, and they have a huge pride in the thing. And I often think that is perhaps, in some respects, the single greatest benefit of all is the kind of exposure then that large numbers of people have had to a side of Native life that is perhaps very different than what they might be seeing on television half the time.
And it makes me think back to something you said earlier about the early days of trying to get this project approved. And because of my background with you, I know that there were a number of years there where you tromped into these boardrooms of fairly upper echelon people in government saying, there's a great archaeological site, we really ought to do something with it. And they'd say, well, what is it? And they'd say, well, it's a buffalo jump. And they'd look at you in disbelief. You want to throw millions of dollars into what? And we have to think back, this is the mid and late 1970s, and really the whole focus of heritage interpretation really at that time was aimed at European culture. Absolutely. It was the house of John Diefenbaker, or the Fort such and such, or famous places that famous Europeans, Westerners, whatever we want to call them, that they lived. The idea of sinking money into an Aboriginal site was almost, I won't say it was unique at that time, because I think there had been a few done, but not very many. And Head Smashing really was cutting some new ground back in the early 1980s. We were making a stand saying we think Aboriginal heritage is worth putting money into, and furthermore, and I think the important thing was that, you know, the old line, if we build it, they will come. And I think we proved that. You know, we built it, and people consistently have come here in pretty significant numbers for 20 years now. So I'd like to think that we broke some ground there, showing people that you can build these kinds of places. People will come. And I think, personally, I think there's some spin-offs that are now around the country and are probably around North America because of what we established here.
I think that's absolutely true. Certainly in terms of the development of sites reflecting Native heritage. Anything prior to that period in this country was tended to be pretty minimalist, and this was really, I think, groundbreaking in the scale of what was done, but also also in the nature of the Aboriginal involvement. There was a fair tendency in other situations for non-Aboriginals to basically just simply take charge and tell the story from their perspective. And one of the things that happened here right from the outset, there was a huge commitment to basically allow the story to be told in the native voice. It took some convincing. I mean, the folks here in the local communities, at the Brockett standoff and whatnot, had been dealing with white folks for some considerable period of time, and let's just say they weren't entirely enamored of everything that had been told to them in the past. Yes, no, it was not necessarily their favorite day. And they were very skeptical.
But also, just to add, so were a lot of non-native people in Edmonton who felt, you know, wait a minute, this is our project, it's our land, it's our money. Do we have to talk to them, or should we just tell them what we're doing, or what? And it took a lot of convincing in Edmonton to also get the non-native side on board that we need them as collaborators, not rubber stamp people to approve this thing. Absolutely. That was a big part of the project.
But in the end, that was a driving philosophy in the development, and it paid huge dividends in all sorts of ways that really allowed head smashed in to develop in a fashion that certainly was truly unique for the day, and it's now been emulated in many other sites across the country. But at the time, this was a pretty innovative way to go
And
about
I've
this.
even had people tell me that people working on other Aboriginal sites that they're trying to develop, they'll say, we keep using head smashed in as a model. You know, we hold that up as sort of the icon. It can be done, and if you do it, it'll work. People will come and you know, I've been lucky enough to travel around the country a bit, giving talks in other places, to say, yes, I think you've got something here. This will work. Trust us. You know, we did it. It worked in Alberta, and it can work elsewhere. Because there's no shortage of great stories out there. There's just there's been a shortage in the past of people willing to sort of dream that big dream and say, we need some big bucks, and we have a great story, and we think people are going to come and hear it when we've got it built.
Yeah. No, that's certainly the case. I mean, you know, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, and
We'll take it.
and we've been flattered more than once. That's for sure. And so we'll take that. So.